Definitely cold.
Good morning, Jeremy.
I said it's definitely cold.
Yeah, and what were you saying 5 days ago? Ask the folks at the desk. It ain't us. It ain't me.
Good morning. Jeremy, do you see the agenda on your screen? Jeremy?
Very new, Harry's.
Oh, no. Is this gonna do this again?
It's not. So that's right. Right, would you feel comfortable turning down the AC slide? We've had a complaint. Don't say off. Don't you off?
John, can you ask if Jeremy can hear me?
Check that out. When you.
So I'm just gonna say we're here today, I believe that by 10:30.
Okay, we'll be good. Thanks, Greg. Code enforcement has superpowers.
Yeah, we'll go for that.
Okay, wait a second. I'm not ready yet, I'm sorry.
We're having there's a technical difficulty beyond this,
Thank you, Hugh, for that useful.
so everybody,
Jeremy?
you guys just be patient, please, thank you.
I didn't say anything. You guys should have spoken up.
Just letting you know,
And Chief, you're right. You're in
Preemptively
trouble.
chives.
I don't know what to do.
Restart the server.
Restart.
No.
Jeremy, good morning, everyone. Jeremy, can you hear me?
Anybody?
I don't know what to do here.
What's happening, Shane? You don't talk
I
in?
can't get any audio.
Is this on?
Yes,
What about putting the owl out?
sorry.
Turning the owl on and off, but then.
Is it the owl?
It's not, it's
I think it's my browser.
It's, yeah, the browser is activated.
That's what.
Let's dial in on a phone. Yeah, he said there's a mute on the owl and there's a mute on the meeting.
Sure. I do not have a mute.
I can see and hear you all if it helps.
Thank you, Walter. Can you still hear us, Walter?
I can.
Buster got the mute.
Hi, Jan. This is Justin. I can hear and see you fine. It's obviously on Jeremy's end.
Thank you. Jeremy needs to.
Oh, Jeremy, try to keep up.
So,
Yes, Hey, Miranda. Morning.
Okay, we'll get started in a few seconds here.
We're good, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll, somehow.
Cameron?
positive.
Be good. Whatever time it is, maybe 5 after the meeting's
10:04.
full board. Jen, we're good online?
Yes, I apologize to one of our commissioners. He's restarting, so let's see if he joins us, but do we have?
Sure. First order of business is to review the minutes from the previous meeting.
I've taken the time to do that, They're good. Really good.
Oh, or should we go direct? No, hell with me. Let's go directly into the public hearing.
Yes, that's what.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Could we have a roll call?
Sure, let's go around the room. I start with Kim.
Kim what?
Paul Barrett.
Miranda Barry.
Phil Foreman.
John Schoble.
You buy it.
That's who's here, and we have a quorum. Thanks, everyone.
We have
And
Jeremy Stein.
who are the commissioners online?
We have Commissioner Stein, who is joining us now. Nice, yes.
Sure.
Jeremy, we can hear you, we see you.
I can hear you now. I think it was on my end. I exited and came back in.
Okay.
Okay.
So Chairman, first up, we have C of A's, that we
I
approved.
think we're gonna go with a public hearing and, who's presenting for the, proposal for work at 9 Partition Street? Could that be Chip? Yes. Chip, you're on.
Do you want me to make a full presentation as before? For this public hearing as well?
I think close enough, Chip. I'm thinking we may follow up with the side. We may take other steps as well, but what you judge what you think is going to be communicating to everybody.
Okay. If you could,
Jan, Ronald's ready, raising his hand.
thank you. If you could start with the site, the urban plan.
Okay, let's see. Hold 1 second, Chip.
Sure.
I have a hand raised, Mr. Kopnicki.
I'm sorry.
I-
I raised my hand because I intend to speak later. However, what I want to say is if there are people in the room from the neighborhood who want to speak on this, I would defer to them first. I will lower my hand for temporarily, but I wanted you to know that I do intend to.
Jenna, I think we should take those comments later.
Later.
Okay,
When after Chip has made his presentation.
is this the?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you all again for reviewing this application for a new house on Partition Street at number 9 Partition Street. Actually, that's great. Thank you for that split screen. This map illustrates the footprint of the lot at 9 Partition relative to the houses and the buildings that exist in this immediate neighborhood. This is Warren Street. This is number 11 Warren Street, which we're familiar with. This is the former public school on Partition Street and Allen Street. Just to give you a point of reference, this is Front Street. This lot is adjacent to a large brick warehouse building, which actually fronts on Allen Street and is built all the way through Partition Street. So just to give you some orientation to the location of this lot in the city, that's what this building density study is for. This illustrates in a greater detail the site plan. This is Partition Street, Front Street, Allen Street. This is a drawing constructed off of the survey that was made, professional survey that was made of the lot. In red, we see the outline of the existing building to be removed, which is a garage, 1-story garage off of Partition Street. Adjacent to it is the 10 Allen Street, which is actually number 8 and number 14 lots on Allen Street. This is a 4-story building, nearly 50 feet high off of Allen Street. This is the 1-story building off of Partition Street, which is brick building. We may all recognize that as that 1-story brick building on the side that's covered with considerable amount of graffiti. As we come down the sidewalk on Partition Street, we come to the the TKG building, which is on the corner of Front and Partition Street. It's full 3 stories high, multi-use. This is also a multifamily building adjacent to it. This building is on a T-shaped lot. It has a garage here and a private driveway to Allen Street on this side. So this property, which fronts onto Front Street, comes through and owns this alley and the adjacent garage. This is the Half Moon and its patio. You could advance to the next. This is a larger detail of the site plan. In red dashed line is actually the property line. And the adjacent property lines on Partition Street. This is the offset that is in that alleyway of the adjacent property. This red dotted line is the existing garage to be removed. This building, the proposed building has a footprint which comes with the side yard. Side property line here, the side property line here. We're providing a 5-foot deep rear yard with open porches that extend for the full height of the building. The rear wall of the building is here. The rear wall of the existing building is here. The front wall of the building, existing building, is 9 inches off of the side of the Partition Street property line. Just to briefly follow up on the zoning Board of Appeals approval which we received, this simply indicates the zoning requirement for the setback of 15 feet from the front, 30 and 7.5 feet on each side. We received approval to build in this footprint. We received relief on the rear yard and the 2 side yards. There was formerly a requirement for height relief, which we withdrew, and so the proposed building complies with the 35-foot height limit. I printed out for you, which I can leave for the record, a statement from the Zoning Board of Appeals, which identifies the relief that they granted. This is an interesting historical map. It's the 1911 Sanborn Insurance map. It shows number 9 Partition Street as a garage, which is an accessory to a dwelling unit that is adjacent to the 4-story brick building that still survives on Allen Street. This building has been removed. You can see the scar outlined on the side of this building of that dwelling unit. This building, this map is interesting because it shows the density of construction at the time of 1911. It also shows dwellings on Partition Street that exist at number 17, at number 24. There's one at 23 and also one at 25. Those have subsequently been removed. But this is very interesting as a snapshot of the intensity of use that was here, and why this continues to remain zoned as a more intense residential zone. It's a residential special commercial zone, which is different from the other residential zones that are throughout the city. That line more or less occurs at this point, where this is a residential 4 zone and this is a RC zone. This is a scrapyard, iron scrapyard, a livery, and so forth. The reason that it's a more intense zoning today is because at one time it was more part of the rest of the industrial area that was all along Front Street and extending down to the train station and so forth. Next. This is, go back. Yeah. Actually, I'd like to go to the map, quickly.
Mhm.
Thank you. This is just an interesting map because it's a, it's a city map of lot ownership. It illustrates how many of the lots between Partition and Allen and between Partition and Union had been subdivided at one time. So some lots faced Partition and didn't extend all the way through from Allen to Partition or from Partition to Union Street. So it's curious that in this zone, there was some division of these lots for buildings that faced exclusively these streets and Partition Street. The other thing that's interesting about this, there's been discussion about Partition Street and its role as an alley compared to the other alleys. The Partition Street is 40 feet wide, property line to property line. Allen Street and Union Street are 50 feet wide, just another 10 feet. Front Street is 65 feet wide. The alleys, Prison and Church, Cherry, are 20 feet wide. So Partition is a unique street. It is in fact a street. Some historians have made the statement that it's one of the oldest streets laid out in the city. These photographs simply show the existing condition. This as seen from Partition Street going down to Front Street. This is the TKG building, which has four stories of porches on the backside. This is the adjacent garage, which is this garage. This is number 9 garage. This is the back of the warehouse building that fronts onto Allen Street. This is the brick wall along the Partition Street. This sidewalk is 10 feet wide, which is exceptionally wide for many streets in Hudson. It has a continuous curve that's fully intact all the way to Talbot Nordic, to the intersection of Porter and at the Second Street. The sidewalk has been improved along the sides of the TKG building. It's in very good shape. It's not in very good shape beyond that. But it's interesting that this curb line is very, very well established in the street. And of course, repairing and making that a more serviceable public amenity. Part of this application is to repair the sidewalk that's in front of this building and also repair the sidewalk that's in front of this garage building. Mike Wenzel, the owner, has talked to the neighbor here who is supportive of this work of the new building here and has agreed to let Mike continue this sidewalk improvement across the front of this property so that it does connect up to the sidewalk of the TKG building. This is as viewed from the yard across the street of Allen Street. This is the warehouse, a 4-story warehouse building. This is the TKG building and its 4-story decks across the back. Can't really see because this chain link fence is covered in vines, but the 2 small garages front onto Partition Street are visible from Allen Street. We could go to the what's the next on our could we go to do we have the architectural drawings in this set?
I don't believe so.
Okay, then I'll just quickly
Let me see if I can. I have the architectural images. Is that what you'd like to see? I have A through F.
No, I'm sorry, I'm looking for the architectural drawings. They may not be included in that package.
Okay.
These are the architectural drawings that have been submitted for the building permit. We've reviewed this with the chief enforcement officer. Full architectural plans are part of the package here. That include the garage plan, the first and second floor plans, the roof plan, window schedule, the building elevations. This is an interesting drawing that is.
Chip, excuse me one second,
Yeah.
just a technical thing. Jan, I'm just getting some messages that there may be folks in the waiting room trying to get in.
I don't
Do you
have,
see anything?
I don't have, I'm on Teams, so
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sure.
they need to go onto the web. I don't know who it is, but
Okay,
they need to go on the cityofhudson.org and click onto the join the Teams meeting. It's not Zoom.
got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Okay. This drawing is a measured elevation of the streetscape, from Front Street through to the, brick building that's the back of Allen Street. This is the proposed, new house. This is the TKG building, with its rear porches. This is the one-story garage, which is part of 4042 Front Street. This is the proposed new building, and the adjacent Allen Street warehouse building and residential garage beyond. This is a view of the Allen Street elevation. It shows the four-story warehouse building that's here, the rear of the proposed building, the rear of the one-story garage. This is the TKG building. This is the Half Moon. This is the street sloping down of Allen Street. It slopes back up to Partition Street, and it slopes again on the Partition Street side from the sidewalk at the Front Street up to as it goes towards Second Street. I just wanted to share these full architectural drawings with you. They're part of the package. They show the full elevations of each facade and part of the building permit package. We could now go to the images. This is perfect. So this is as viewed from the corner of Front Street and Partition. This is the existing TKG building, which is 4 stories high. It's multi-use, it's office and residential. This is multifamily. This is the Half Moon beyond. This is the small garage and brick building beyond of Allen Street. This is the proposed building, which we see as we come around and turn around. We see this building, the Allen Street in the background, the porches in the back of the TKG building. This is the brick building that is the back of the warehouse building. The proposed building includes a garage for parking space, a obvious front door at the street. Centered above the front door are windows on the second floor. A porch, which is at the 3rd floor level. And the rear, also this footprint, which we looked at previously, the simple footprint of this building is eroded away as it goes up the building on both this north-west corner and also the west, south, and east of the rear. So these porches provide some relief from just a simple rectangular box that gets extruded up out of the property line. Next, please.
Mhm.
This is a closer detail of that image that we were just looking at. These drawings, by the way, are constructed from measured drawings of the TKG building and measured drawings of the warehouse building. They are digitally accurate, and so the proportions of these spaces and the portion of this building are accurate and measured. They're not approximations. They're accurate. This.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mhm.
This photograph, this view shows coming down Partition Street, the side of the building, which is on the property line adjoining this brick warehouse building. The projecting bays of the front of the building, which we'll talk about more later as we talk about this projecting bay and the architecture of this, the garage door. Bedroom level, living level. This is the porch that is on the back side of the building. Again, this footprint of the building gets reduced by this porch on the northwest corner and also by the southeast corner in the rear. This is a closer detail showing the building as we come down the street. So we're looking at here a building with an overall height of 35 feet. And then we've created a sloped roof in the front with a bracketed cornice that is lower than the 35-foot height. This bracketed cornice caps the top of this bay window and provides an architectural interest with the bay. The exterior trim of this bay and the exterior trim of the building is composed of structural steel. So it's 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch structural steel sections that are L-shaped or C-shaped or I-beam shaped. We've used I-beams 8 inches by 4 inches as kind of brackets that support their roof overhang. Mike is, as you may know, is an iron worker. And so we've decorated this building, if you will, for the iron worker. It will in fact be a steel frame building. It is covered with a standing seam metal painted steel. In the previous meeting, it was asked for us to bring more detail on that, and I'll get to that in a minute. This color palette is a bronze brown, dark brown with black windows, black trim at the cornice and at the windows and doors. The base of this building at the sidewalk level is faced with New York State bluestone slab in slab form, and provides a more durable, it first of all provides an architectural base for the building, but it also provides a more durable finish at the sidewalk level because this metal is sometimes subject to denting and abuse. So this is again, we see the relief of the porches in the back and the porch on the side. This is a built-in flower box for that porch. And so this vertical element of the front door coming up to a second floor window, coming up to a flower box, it anchors that as the obvious pedestrian entrance to this building. This composition on the street forms a very familiar two-part system, which we see throughout Hudson, in which we have a door on the side. We have rooms on the primary rooms adjacent to that. The number 9 is painted on the transom above the door. Again, another feature familiar to Hudson. The overall architectural concept here is that this building has a design which transitions from the final homes of Warren Street and Union Street and Upper Allen Street as it transitions down to the industrial area of the around the train station and beyond, and the industrial aspect of the adjacent building that is on Allen Street. This is as viewed from Allen Street. This is the back of the Half Moon. This is the alleyway which comes down to this garage, which is owned by the adjacent building of 4042 Front Street. This is the TKG building with its back porches. This is the rear elevation, which again is eroded from the footprint. Relief is provided to provide exterior porches that wrap around the building on the south and the west side. This is the guardrail of the roof deck on the upper level. As mentioned before, this chain link fence is heavily planted and it exists across the rear property line of this property. And it's also heavily planted. We would like to extend that for about 10 feet on this offset property line. And then we can go to the next. This is this view from the recently opened bridge. The Half Moon, the warehouse building on Allen Street. We see this is 4042 front. This is the TKG building. This is the proposed building with, again, the porches on the rear and the handrail of the roof deck are structural steel that are painted black. The siding is uniformly the standing seam roofing metal. And this puts this view in context of the adjacent buildings as seen from Front Street and from the bridge. This is as if we were floating above the roof of the Half Moon, which we don't recommend for anybody. But it more fully shows the design intent of this building. This is the adjacent garage, which is 1 story on partition, but 2 story in the back. The footprint of the existing building with the 5-foot rear yard, and then the further the porches that extend up are 8 feet deep and wrap around the sides. This is the porch on the northwest side. These porches are off of the primary living spaces of the house, and the roof deck, which has a handrail of transparency on the south side and these 2 sides, but is a solid handrail, if you will, on 60% or so of the roof deck has a solid handrail. This is the chain link fence extension we would like to propose. The existing chain link fence comes across and down that street. It is consistent with the existing condition, and of course, maybe someday will be something other than chain link, but it's what it is today. Next, I think that's it.
Okay.
The 2 items that were requested for at the last meeting for an additional image, I have only three copies of this.
Thanks, Jim.
Um, I'll give you this copy after I go through it. This first image, what is page 2, is a building that's directly behind us. It was asked at the last meeting that we bring an image of the steel siding material. This is the building in black. It's actually very nicely tailored. It was recently done, approved by this commission. It's right behind us on the alley.
Will this siding have the same?
It is the-
sheen?
It is the same, it is exactly the same material, that is correct. The spacing of the ribs, we would like to reduce from this width. These ribs are about 18 inches. We have this drawn right now at about 12 inches. So we like the little bit thinner, a little bit, not quite as boxy and as heavy as this, but this, it is, it's an accessory dwelling. I don't really remember. It's on, this facade faces Prison Ave, right behind us. So I thought this was a very good example. It's 522. Right behind us was a very good immediate example of the design intent that we have here. I brought at the last meeting and still have, if you'd like to see them in the brown color sample and the black color sample for the map. It was also asked at the last meeting that we specifically that we specify the windows. We're in we have familiarity, I think, all with Marvin Ultimate Windows, which is aluminum clad exterior window with a wood frame interior. We also have Marvin Modern, which is fiberglass. It's black. It has a much thinner profile, which is more desirable for us. It's both fiberglass inside and outside. We have 2 other manufacturers of all metal. One is all aluminum and one is all steel. The Weather Shield is an all aluminum product. It's aluminum outside and inside. It has a thermal break, performs to the requirements of the energy code. And then also we have Quantum Steel, which is another window manufacturer that make exclusively steel. There are several other window manufacturers of steel. Are you proposing all 4? I'm proposing that we have an approval for a type of window, not a specific manufacturer. The concept of specifying a window today, given the international materials market vulnerability, it's very, very difficult. We don't know what supply chain is going to be like in 6 months. We don't know what it's going to be like in 3. So if we've included specification sheets for these 4 windows. If the commission doesn't feel comfortable without a specific specification of a specific manufacturer, I get that and we can deal with that. But what we're a little concerned about is sometimes the urgency and timing of making a window order doesn't comport with the schedule of the commission. So we're not in a panic over this by any stretch, but the important thing about this design is not the manufacturer of that specific window, but it is the type of window and the appearance that window will have. And as outlined here, we are looking for an exterior window that is pre-finished in black. It's not wood. It can either be aluminum or steel or fiberglass or aluminum clad. And so our design intent, I think, is very clear. The specific manufacturer we would like to hold in reserve so that when the time comes for us to make the order for those windows, it can be done to a manufacturer that in fact can supply the product.
So would you come back later in the meeting to, any level of detail folks want to go around? Do you feel you've covered the main topics though in terms?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I think that's great.
Can we ask you questions?
Give me a minute to think how to, organize this. I just want to say something up front in terms of, public comment. We got, as I've been doing this a while, we got as many letters as, I've seen. And, my main thought about them is, how courteous, how thoughtful, and how great it made me feel about our process for people to not necessarily agree with the project, but to disagree with so much respect. I truly appreciate that. And then on to whoever wants to start public comment.
Can I start with a question for Chip? Chip, there's one more variance you glossed over that you got from zoning. It's the amount of stories. Can you explain that?
Actually, we talked about this at the last meeting in the absence of the building official. 2.5 stories, the definition of 2.5 stories versus 3 stories, and how that is actually measured and prescribed by building codes, both here in Hudson and elsewhere. It's definitely a poorly worded part of this zoning ordinance to say that the height limit is 2.5 stories. We have a height limit that's 35 feet, which is well prescribed. But the 2.5 stories is not well articulated. It is frequently used in other jurisdictions and probably here as well, in a suburban sense, to try to force a housing or a house design into a peaked roof, gable roof, or salt box design. And it's a rather heavy-handed and poorly used zoning description.
But it also reduces the overall mass of the upper half of the building, right? Like just one, this is 2.5 stories, right?
Well, actually, that could be that.
And are there any other 3-story residences on partition on this block?
Single family residences, there are 3 and 4 story buildings
Not
on partitions.
not residences on partition. There's carriage houses that are 2.5, right?
There's the school building, which is.
That's a different.
That's not
like
residential.
far setback.
I get that. You asked if there were
I'm still dwellings.
single family dwellings. I haven't done that.
There are none.
I haven't
They're
done
not
that.
all the way up to the floor. So everything is 2.5 stories or lower. That half story you're saying is bad language. It's significant in the mass, but light and view blockage and everything else that is happening on partition. So it's not a bad term for it. 2.5 stories is a big difference from 3, and it is making that big, large volume blocking space and partition that's not appropriate for the consistency of the entire street of support. So,
I looking at that 3-story building as it's designed adjacent to the TKG building and
TKG building faces Front Street.
I understand that,
Yeah.
and
So we don't need to extend all the way on partition just because of TKG street building.
I get that, but in the context of this zone and the context of the 35-foot height and the context of the which if this were a multifamily building, it could be built to 45 feet, just as the TKG building is. The building on Allen Street, the warehouse building on Allen Street complies with the zone of 45 feet. Not actually, I beg your pardon. It's not, it exceeds 45 feet. It's 49 feet. So yes, I get that you're fine tuning the use of single-family dwelling versus building mass and building volume. I get that. But in this case, the specifics of this location and the specifics of the context in which this building exists, it is perfectly appropriate to have a 35-foot high building here.
I'm not disputing 35 feet high, but I am disputing the extra variance that you glossed over having another half-story relief from zoning.
Well, please, don't,
I'm not, the overall volume is too big for the space.
okay.
Anything 2.5 stories, we've solved that. That's, I realize.
Well, it should go to the board, not to me. They shouldn't have.
Thank you.
Right, it's this, we have to just,
I want to hear from the public, and then we'll go to the board. This
No,
is-
no, that's not
Go,
the point.
here.
I think the point is that the comments can be made, they're made to the board. It's not really intended to be a dialogue. So while that's helpful,
However,
our attorney reminds us that that's the nature of the public hearing.
other folks speak out.
I just wanted to say, these are the other, I only have one copy. These are the only other single-family homes that are on partition with partition addresses between First and Ford, and you can see their scale. And this I also sent to you with my letter. I live at 11 Union, directly across the alley.
Could you identify yourself?
And I wanted to, sorry?
Could you identify yourself?
My name's Alexandria Darrow. And I just wanted to have this, people can take a look. This is Stan and I live at 11 Union, and this is, I'm not an architect, so these are not CAD professional, but I did my best to do the scale, what we'll be dealing with outside of our house. Just my plea is almost entirely personal at this point. We're at the end of many months with this and tired, but I just wanted everybody to see the impact that it'll have directly on our property, if you weren't able to open it in.
Other folks?
And then just to go back and talk about the two buildings, because all through the ZBA, every one of Chip's presentations talks about how because of 10 Allen and 38 South Run, this building fits in somehow. I mean, Caroline's building 10 Allen was built in 1900 according to the tax record. My guess is that's probably about 50 years after it was actually built. The 38 South Front was built in what, 1830. So, and was most likely probably when it was built was probably a brothel. And it has a office on the bottom, it's commercial, it's on South Front, which is mostly commercial. Partition is not commercial at all. So the commercial building on South Front that has an office building in the bottom, 3 units upstairs. The only way to access those 3 units is through those back stairs. According to Chip, according to Fred, at one of the ZBA meetings, those decks have been there as long as he's been alive. So I don't see why building a new building that doesn't look anything like that, that somehow that has anything to do with how that building, why that building should be built. And I feel the same way if you look at 10 Allen. I mean, that's a warehouse that was probably built when the South Bay was still there and people were bringing things into it. And now, I mean, it's a beautiful building. Light reflects off of it. The birds all live on it, and it's there. It's a lot of work, but it doesn't look anything at all like what he's talking about building. And it's not a residence. Either one of these are residences. They're both commercial buildings and multifamily buildings. This is a single family dwelling. So I don't see how those 2 buildings really have that much to do with it. And as you go down partition, there are only, from front to court, there are only 2 residences that are listed in the records that I took from the Union Allen South Front Historical District application that formed, when it was formed, that lists every building in there, and there are only 2 buildings on there that are listed as residential buildings, and that's 2527 and 219, 221. Both of those are 2-bedroom or 2-story buildings, and were built a long time ago. One looks like nobody even lived, so I'm not sure if they do. The other thing is he talks about, he brought up the other day that partition is 40 feet wide. I don't know where he measured it from. If I measured from my property line to the curb in front of 9 Union is 23 feet. So I don't know where the 40 comes from. And it's got a 9-foot sidewalk over there. And on that street, there are always cars parked on the north side, because we have no alternate side parking on that street, because the street's like an alley. So there's another 7 feet that comes out, making that a really narrow street as it is. But it's not 40 feet wide, that's for sure. The sidewalk on the south side does not completely go all the way to South at Martin. There are places where it still is a little bit, but there are places like the school where they've taken it all out and put in gravel and other things. It's not on side. If you were walking over there, you don't walk on the sidewalk if you trip and break your neck. So you walk in the street when you walk down.
I think, I tried to read, there were, Scott coming in this morning as well, that you could, argue there are a couple buckets where people express concerns. I would say number one is scale, in terms of the comments. Number two would be the introduction of modern architecture and design. And that always happens in the historic district where we do, there's a question about the appropriateness of modernity. And number three is individual homeowners in the area losing light in their view for other elements of view shed that they're forfeiting. So I'd love it if folks could talk about each of these different issues that have come up, so that the board gets a good understanding. Hi, Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret Morris, first board resident, also council member. Basically, outdoor rooftop space from a privacy perspective. I think that will create a problem for the residents that this house overlooks. I myself live next door to Spark, which has a rooftop. I didn't appreciate until it opened how much of a privacy issue that was going to be for my yard and my home and my bedroom. So please give careful thought. There was no height required, zoning waiver required. The project was reduced in scale and size for that. However, that rooftop piece, I think, will have a negative impact on the residents that are over by this building.
Thank you. Someone else in the back?
Me?
Yes.
Hi, Ivy Dane, 15 Union Street. One thing that I wanted to point out straight up was, we appreciate you guys preserving the historic nature. You guys recently made a decision on 105 Union, halfway up the block from 90 Partition Street. And if I can quote John, got this, or Jules, the integrity of our historic district, massive and inappropriate to the surrounding area. This is a perfect example of that. You guys also approved the Mark McDonald House, totally different situation. Can't wait to go see it tonight. Different part of the neighborhood, different situation entirely. Owner, architect, everything about this. Chip described this himself just now as a rectangular box. We already talked about this, the height, lot coverage. Typical single family homes don't have such a small footprint. We're all aware of that. Historic character in comparison to the segue from the industrial to the residential. The finer homes, Hudson, are on Union Street, half a block away. Christabel Bob renovated 7 Union Street. It's like a museum. She did it historically accurate. That is the finer home in Hudson. That is just on the other side, on the perspective that Alex pointed out that we haven't seen in any of the shift records. You guys can see that also in my, sorry, I keep speaking. Yeah, what else can I tell you? Oh, environmental. There's a wind tunnel that exists off the river, I believe. You guys can see it in my letter. There have been 2 giant trees that have lost humongous limbs that have come down. One right across from 9 Partition Street, came down to 2 Partition, took down the power line and destroyed property. One that came formerly from 11 Union, cut across 2 yards. Between 11 and 15, there's a space, side yard, looking at this house doesn't indicate. I believe this building that should be referred to as a garage. I don't know how you could get a car through that pedestrian door that's in that building right now, but the wind tunnel is only gonna be, it's gonna get worse. There's a tiny little garage between these two buildings already, and it's only gonna make it worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Hi. I'm Nicole Vidor, 39 Allen Street. This is the first I've learned that I'm gonna walk down Allen Street and see a chain link fence. I don't understand that. That's appalling to me. I don't understand why there's any connection between industrial and residential. This is a residential building. It's not an industrial building. So there's no need to copy industrial. And I think it's really extraordinary, honestly, that people who come into Hudson and have zero regard for their neighbors or the community. I find it extraordinary. Thank you.
Who's got their hand up? Mike?
Yes, how you doing? I'm Michael Wenzel. I was built property on, when people say, come into this neighborhood, I've been around here for a long time. Built a house on 34 South Front Street, I redid it. It was a knockdown, I made it beautiful. I'm trying to make another, since I've grown that house, I'm trying to make it another beautiful project. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have one question.
Hopefully some different points, please.
This is just one other question. My understanding is that the applicant is not a full-time resident of Hudson. And I've heard that the building that you have on front is used as an Airbnb when he's in Florida. I have no problem with STRs. I'm just curious. It's, as I mentioned in my letter, the idea that we have this to contend with for someone who's here just part-time is more salt on the wound of the impact that it'll have on our day-to-day. So I'm just curious, is the intention when he is not in residence, is that house just gonna be sitting there dark and empty? Is it gonna be a short-term rental? Or, I mean, maybe that doesn't factor into any of the proceedings here, but it's a concern.
It's a fair point, but it's for a different commission. We're looking at architecture, the relationship to the community and so on. If somebody wants to go to Florida from time to time, it's none of our business.
Can I just say one more thing? Sorry.
Sure.
There's something that just occurred to me that I forgot. The industrial nature, if you're gonna continue to compare that, the Dunware, materials of those buildings are historic in nature.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, this is a beautiful moment where residents can talk to respect and one to another. I look forward to having a coffee with you, cool future neighbor. And I'm very impressed by this process, but my broader point is that in the city of Hudson, we have, it could be argued, a lack of public engagement on 4 issues. The city is currently undergoing a massive democratically led change in how it thinks about public space and how it thinks about organizing itself.
I'm sorry, can you just identify yourself?
Actually don't legally have to, but thank you for asking, and I politely declined to refer to me as the friendly neighborhood immigrant. I own property in the first ward, and I really respect how you do your work. My concern, to go back to my point, is the town is in flux. When you see this many residents show up disrespectfully for a landowner and some of the largest property taxpayers in town, I'm deeply concerned at how things are rushed. I'm not saying you are rushed necessarily, but across the town. And I think, given the public response here, I would rather we extend the process, have some of the very fair questions that were raised today answered in writing, specifically, declaratively, and then make a decision. Because I've only been in this town for a couple of years, not as long as many of you, and hopefully you, sir, but I see a lot of unhappy taxpayers. And then my last point is that if you actually look at the tax rolls, which I have not done, the first ward carries a very heavy burden. And for this to happen in the heart of the most historic part of the first ward, I live on Union Street, where I'm also making significant historic investments. I'm deeply concerned. So if we cannot come to an agreement today, which it seems we cannot, I would rather we have, I don't know your process, but in my legal realm, you get very clear declarative responses in writing, and then have a back and forth response, and then you make a decision. I would like to request that with any other process.
Let me comment on the process. I don't think we're either too quick or too slow. We really try to be deliberative process. We really do try to listen to public views. We also try to respect the owner and the fact that they're putting their money and their heart into a project, and it deserves a certain amount of deference. I doubt that we're going to vote today in terms of process. There's still a lot of input to absorb. We know Chip, of course, we work together. I happen to know Mike. They're trying to do something beautiful, but the responsibility is on this board to determine whether it is also appropriate. Everything is predicated on the idea that there is a public interest in what gets built up or what gets torn down, and we're part of moving that public interest in the dialogue. I just want to be sure, and the letters were good about this, that we also continue to be respectful of Mike and Chip for their thinking, their money, their effort on this, and figure out a way forward. That's what we do. We solve problems.
Absolutely. Just let's take a response. You guys do a fantastic job. If you guys could run the city, that would be my preferred outcome. Just to be clear, I'm not saying your process is bad. I'm just saying, for example, on the technical matter of Nicole's question, residential, commercial, I do not know, like I am not from here, if there's some law or if it's a subjective question, whether the commercial aesthetic buildings in the area can be used as a precedent for a residential building. That is really interesting in your question. I do not know the answer. I would love if someone can explain that to me. And if we need that, actually,
I could explain that.
Great. I'll give it back to the chair, but that's my question. And just thank you so much. You guys are fantastic.
Okay, so what I have, I'll speak for myself, and the board may disagree. I have a lot of problems with this pure notion of precedent. I don't think it works very well in terms of our process. Every block is different, neighborhoods are different, and buildings are different. So we try not to be bound. Chip knows technically what commercial and residential means. I'm not sure that's what we need to focus on. What's the fit with the neighborhood, the buildings around it? Is it appropriate? That's what we do.
I'd like to just quickly respond to a couple things that will be helpful. First of all, the issue of the 2.5-story versus 3-story. That was discussed at the zoning board of appeals, building official. I did not gloss over that as was represented in the zoning board of appeals. The variance was provided between 2.5 stories and 3 stories. The height at 35 feet was not requested to have any relief for that. So the issue of the 2.5-story versus 3-story was attended to by the zoning board of appeals, and a full 3 stories was granted. The other question regarding the width of Partition Street and not knowing where, I got that information. I got it from the 1911 Sanborn map, which is included in your package. Partition Street is 40 feet wide. I did misspeak about Front Street. I think I may have said it's 65 feet. It's actually 60 feet. That is in the package, but it is 40 feet wide.
Thanks, Jim.
Also, the issue of the privacy intrusion into the neighborhood of an upper story, third story, second story porch overlooking yards. That's a real thing. I get that 100%. However, this neighborhood, and in fact, Hudson is filled with 2-story, 3-story porches that overlook backyards. Backyards are not completely private sanctuaries that eliminate neighbors, right? We share our yards. There is here's a photograph taken from Partition Street, illustrating the properties on Union that have a rear deck above the second floor. These photographs also I brought specifically to address the issue of metal as an exterior or roofing as an exterior siding material. These are taken from near 3rd Street at Cherry Alley. Beautiful Corten steel siding was used on the alley side and on the side that's facing 3rd Street. These photographs also just illustrate the number of porches and roof decks. There are 2 different roof decks just in these snapshots, in addition to the porches. So I certainly understand and appreciate the concern about the privacy of a 3rd floor roof deck. However, this particular area has substantial number of outside covered rooms, if you will, porches that view over adjacent properties.
I don't think that. Mr. Jeffs, we're not going to solve every problem at this public stage. There'll be a further discussion later in the meeting. What I'm trying to do is make sure that the folks who haven't been spoken, but it didn't overkill, so we're good.
Okay, thank you. My name's Owen, I live on Union Street. I just want to say, just because the zoning board gave relief to something doesn't mean it's appropriate for historic. Just to make that clear from my point of view. The other thing I just want to highlight is there are 7 at least houses that are going to have significant view shed impact and light impact. They're homeowners. They're all people who have invested in the front of their house and the back of the house. Many of them coming before you for various things. They've invested in their landscaping along Partition. Their displeasure with this should matter. That's 7 taxpayers in a row at least along Union Street. I'm sure one of them may have written letters.
There's nothing in our process that proposes that these concerns don't matter.
I understand. I just wanted to highlight them.
Okay.
There's seven houses in a row with significant impact from this.
Chairman, I have thank you. Someone online who would like to speak? Mr. Kopnicki?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes, thank you. I'll try to be brief. I want to comment on the technique of using references or allusions or nods to other buildings or details on other buildings in justification of a particular project. Here, the bay window or oriel is supposed to refer to the finer architecture on Warren Street. Gossips of Rivertown has pointed out that indeed where those features are found, they are mostly found on Warren Street, not on Union or Allen, in the more immediate neighborhood of this building. Then we have the reference in the materials and the metal cladding to the former industrial waterfront of Hudson. I think if one is concerned with preserving vestiges or traces of the former industrial waterfront, one should be concerned with prioritizing the preservation of what may survive there, rather than intruding what I consider a rather token reference into new construction. At the last meeting on June 13th, I believe that Mr. Bowl mentioned the idiosyncratic aspects of this building. I think when it is finally built and we're out of the verbal realm and into the realm of actual, materials and massing, these idiosyncratic impacts will come to the fore. And what the, observer coming down the street will be struck by will be those impacts, which are not those which supposedly transition from the finer structures to the informally industrial waterfront, but which makes this building actually idiosyncratic and discordant in its immediate context. And it will stand not as an example of transition, but rather as an example of what used to be called the principle of contrast, in which the point was to make the building as distinctive as possible from its immediate surroundings, and in my opinion, excessively discordant and therefore inappropriate. Thank you. And now Matt will speak.
Mr. McGee, you guys need to figure out your microphone. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me at all now?
Yes, could you please do speak up?
Yeah, did you hear what I had to say?
Yes.
Okay, my microphone's not muted, so Matt will try now.
Yes, this is Matt McGee. I live on can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I live on a 26-foot wide property, and the house does not go from side to side. And this is a typical arrangement in Hudson on the streets like Allen, Union, and other streets that are not primary, like Warren. The other thing is that presently the building that is there does not touch the warehouse building next door. And there's probably a good reason for that, because I don't think that it would be a good place to try to put the two houses right together, the two buildings. So I don't see how it's going to be sealed up at the side. And I also think it looks better where you can see some of the side wall. And so this industrial building, which is, the industrial buildings are being spoken of quite a bit, is the only industrial building on Partition. And I think it should not be encroached on and possibly built up against in a way that would cause it to have damage. And I think that it's a very special looking building itself, and I think it should be more respected. And there is a distance between the two now, and I think it should be preserved. And I think that any openings between buildings would make it more uniform and compatible with the city. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Those were all good comments. I would like a motion.
Maybe not.
Go ahead.
At Lloyd Olden Getting, third ward resident. This really does not impact me personally, other than the well-being and the happiness of the community. I am Republican nominee for the upcoming mayoral election, as well as the Harmony Party nominee for this upcoming election. And I am just so respectful of this process. It's kind of dear to me because my mom was like so into historic preservation. So I have this as part of my, but I don't know the word. She actually moved to church up in Conesville, like an 1850 Methodist church, like 3-4 miles, and built up there. Anyway, that aside, respectful of the process. Very pleased at the public reaction and response, and hoping that future endeavors comport themselves in such a grand manner, and appreciating that. Just in terms of process, maybe for clarity, and in order to help future applicants with the process. Now, there's been a number of different points brought up, and I'm sure you're kind of familiar with them. Would you be bullet pointing them and like addressing each kind of individually, or is it like an all or nothing approach?
No, the project ends up being evaluated at a fair level of specificity. So the things that have been raised, to the degree that we can, if we're smart enough to do it, will be addressed when we come up with a solution, and will be discussed.
So it'll be well established and known, so they can
We
be.
have the opportunity to talk about scale with fit and finish, materials, details, et cetera, and that's all part of the process. It's not just, there it is. I think that we'll get to an appropriate level of detail.
And so again, just so appreciative of the process and the way it's all being conducted by
Thank you very much. This has been an hour and a bit. We can come back, and we'll come back to this as an application as opposed to a public hearing, but I would love a motion to close the public hearing. We've got a ton of other business to cover. John, Hugh, all in favor?
Aye.
We're beginning then our regular meeting. Victoria, do we need a motion from that, or if we can proceed?
Right into it.
January, would you go ahead with the regular meeting?
Yeah.
Review draft minutes.
Should be my email.
Thank you all. Thank you. And Mike, we're gonna comment on
We're gonna have a discussion about this project at this meeting.
Don't forget.
So if you are gonna.
It may not be a long
It
discussion.
probably be, if that's.
It's a good process, but let's finish the regular meeting. We'll come back.
Yes.
Don't go.
I mean, you're.
I know.
That was the open, that was the,
So we can be you as council.
public meeting.
Yeah,
We will be discussing 9 partitions.
So we can stick.
A little bit more.
Let's call me.
Jim, let's go ahead with the regular meeting.
Yes,
But we'll read the minutes and vote on the minutes.
review.
Motion to approve minutes is prepared by Jim. That's Miranda and Paul, all in favor? Are there any opposed? The minutes are approved.
Okay.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 C of A votes. You go through those.
First up is 203. It's a single-sided 24-inch by 60-inch wall sign with that's the Hudson kitchenware store. It was a single-sided mounted to the glass sign with vinyl lettering,
This
24
was
inches.
reviewed and approved in a prior meeting.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve C of A. Hugh and Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
And it is approved. Next is 228.
228 Allen Street, which we also approved 2 weeks ago. This is the demolition of the garage. It was an application that the HPC approved about a year ago,
Good.
a little over a year ago. So our,
Motion to approve.
yeah.
Kim and Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 402.
Next is 402. This is Hudson Public. Mr. Chatham wanted to realign the stairs because of the width of the sidewalk.
Kim and Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
402 is approved.
Next up is 9 Union, and this was for the the spiral staircase. It was right, reducing it to 48 from 60.
Motion on that, Kim? And Kim, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
And 9 Union is approved.
okay,
123 Union Street
yes.
is a revision, a carryover from the prior meeting. Is that correct?
I believe so. Let's see. Yes, Mr. Chatham, Walter?
Hi. Jan,
Hi.
can you put it up? Do you have that capability?
Yes, I will do that right now.
Great. I know you all have a lot to do, so I will be even more brief than usual. We did get a certificate of appropriateness on a previous design. We're asking for a couple of what are hopefully de minimis changes. One is that we'd requested permission to remove 2 small non-historic windows on the west elevation of the main block and replace them with 2 large windows modeled on the front of the house, and then add an additional 2 to that. Great.
Walter,
yes.
is this, okay, good.
That's okay. That is the old application. Do you have the new application by any chance?
I had 2 files, so is it the other file?
It's the other file. I apologize. I could probably do it with this if we want to try. Okay, great. That's it. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there it is. As you saw in the last image, we had originally planned to remove the 2 windows in that E1 West Garden elevation and replace them with a total of 4 windows matching the front. That turns out not to be practical for a lot of reasons inside. So we're hoping just to remove the 2 windows and brick up the openings. We have plenty of light and air in the rooms inside, so we meet code. And so we would just take some of the existing brick that we have on the site and close that up and match it. So you would just have a blank wall basically, but a nice one. And then the other question is we'd originally requested and received permission to remove the little side porch that you see in there in the photo. And on further reflection, we all decided it's a pretty nice porch. It makes sense to keep it. So we'd like to keep it and just restore it. And then we would keep the door opening that is shown in the photograph as well. And then everything else would be as before. We'd originally planned to close up 2 openings on the west elevation and replace them with windows, the west elevation of the wing with the porch. And so that would stay the same. So the only 2 changes are to close up the 2 openings on the west side and to retain this porch and that door that you see.
Questions?
That seems pretty forward.
Anything?
We're getting updated drawings to reflect that, so it's.
These are the updated drawings, yes.
Oh, that they're showing? Okay. Got it, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a question about the porch. Are you just retaining the same materials that are currently there for the porch?
That's the current plan, yes. Just keep the porch. I think we probably would have to add a cable or something to the railing. Very de minimis thing just to make it legal. It's a little short, but I don't even think that would be visible.
Yeah. I think it's
Pretty good?
Yeah.
We just go back to the reference of the windows on the open windows and building them in.
This, the west garden elevation?
Yes, that you see the 2 windows that we're removing, we would just brick up those openings.
Jan, can you enlarge the photograph that's below that drawing? It shows, I think, better what it looks like.
These 2?
Yeah.
Mhm. This is the garden, and this is the west lawn.
Those would be the windows.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
I lost the script. What's the question, Jim?
So those are the two windows
Okay,
that
yeah.
they're talking about eliminating.
So, did you get to speak? Yeah, Craig, do you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be fine.
Craig?
Walter, can you hear me?
Yes,
All right, first off, has these changes been submitted to my office?
yes, we sent you an email when we emailed the HPC.
When did that happen? 'Cause I don't think I got it.
Okay, I apologize, Craig. I'll resend it right after the meeting.
So another thing is that has to be addressed here is that rail system on that porch in the rear of the property
Yeah,
is not compliant to code. So originally you were changing that. So now we need a whole code review on that because you don't have the proper spindles, the proper guards and things to prevent fall protection. So you're gonna have to get more detailed with that as well.
okay,
All right, and then we'll make a note of it to the commission that them two windows by accident by the owner's contractor have already been filled. I found this out a couple days ago, so they have an option. If it doesn't get approved, then they have to put it back the way it was. They're on notice as far as an OTR violation that they have to get this corrected before they can move any farther. So Walter, that's why he's here.
Walter, touch base with Craig. I think we're gonna find this application incomplete at this time. It has to go through Craig's review and there are other issues.
Correct.
So I'll make a motion to find the application complete. And second, and it's gonna fail. Paul? Yeah. All in favor? There it is. It's incomplete and work this out with Craig.
okay,
Next.
sorry.
Thank you, thank you.
Walter, can you please send me the plans before now?
I'm sorry, the what?
Is it on me? Okay.
119 Warren Street, a sign.
Yes, is there someone here to speak for 119? Yes, we have our applicant here in person. This is for a sign.
Longest wait for a sign.
Well, I'm planning board for. My name is Oliver Servo. My partner is Chef Saigon. I don't know if any of you tried us yet. If not, I would welcome you in our space. Thank you so much for adding us to the agenda. I know it's last minute, so thank you so much for doing that. It's a sign that says private name.
You can't see from here. You can't see.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, the
Wild Kitchen of the World. So we did write a little bit, which I apologize, and didn't know that we should wait for the approval to put it on, but I still keep today as well.
That sign did look familiar.
So I hope everyone will like it and will get it approved. Thank you.
Is that an internally lit sign?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have to count micro ones on this.
All right, so real quick again here, this was installed, not realizing they had to have approval. I found it. And it is there, that's what you see, and it is illuminated.
Okay.
Well, no, but the drawing doesn't look like the reality, right? So the drawing is two, if you go back to the drawing, it looks like it's two supports that come out from the wall, which in that, but it's a solid block.
Yeah, it's one piece together, it's all connected.
Okay.
Yes.
So what lights up on this is the letters.
What was there signage prior on the building?
It was not, but there was like prepared space, so we're in attendance. So I think the persons maybe were preparing the space for it. Class, yes.
You mean there's already a bracket or something on that bottom, that pilaster?
It was on the other side, it was like, we could have taken off, it was like prepared space.
Well, not exactly.
I thought that we were going to have a public hearing today about the other.
It's another sign. The applicant was asked to get some more time to present.
Okay.
That was not us changing the schedule.
Okay.
Okay.
I propose we wait and have a public hearing for this as well at the same
Yeah.
time. It's an initiative.
Are you serious?
needs to be discussed. But if this was proposed to us as an internally illuminated sign, because we have ad nauseum in the past, we would be discussing it. The fact that it's up shouldn't change that.
No, I also question the placement of the sign.
It's stuck right on that plaster and it's compromising. That was the point of my, I'm sorry.
You want to come back to this? I don't know about a public hearing. We have one scheduled, I forget the number on the other building
421.
for an illuminated sign. I hesitate to push two things together like this.
I'm not suggesting that we do, but if we can offer a public hearing or to require a public hearing for another illuminated sign, there's no reason we shouldn't either wait to determine the appropriateness of this sign in that context, or have a public hearing for this.
Whatever. Let me think on that. We obviously are gonna go ahead with the other public hearing. It has implications potentially for other locations and other illuminated sign. I'd like to get this sign back on the agenda and have the public hearing to start the next meeting. Does that work?
I think so.
Okay. You've got to come back.
Okay. After that extensive wait.
There's been an ongoing discussion, I don't know if you were familiar with it or not, about internally illuminated signs. And there's not yet, and may never be a perfect resolution, but it's a debate that's underway and we have to discuss it before you go ahead with your case.
And so when should I come back next?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Real, real quick also, Mr. Chair, with that said, and so the owner's aware as well, the stall has been signed without the appropriate, not only from this commission, but from my office, which is in clear violations right now, 2 violations of city code. Being that it's illuminated or whatever, that's not a code issue. The problem is that it's been installed and we have no approval, so it has to be removed. Okay, we're not going to allow it to stay there without the proper approvals. It's the standard across the city and the code. If you got approval today, I would allow it, but it has to be removed. I also informed you not to use it as a light, and that's why you still use it. So you have to remove that sign. And, okay, unfortunately, that's the way we gotta deal with it. You can't let it stay there.
No, I understand, Greg. That's code business and that's how it is.
If you have a photo of the facade of the building prior to its installation, I think we'd like to see that also. I'm sure we'd find it. Okay, thank you.
When you remove it, just take extra care of the fluted plaster. I don't know how it was installed, but that's important that that's.
Do they cut the plaster at all?
Looks like it's just.
Or is it just on the surface now?
I think it's just Mr. Yes, just attached, so can we have time to remove it till?
Yeah, I'll give it a couple days.
Okay.
Unfortunate situation, but it sounded to me like the location that's gonna be a question.
Yes.
So that's part of it.
Sure. Makes sense, pick it down. Thank you.
With 2 unplaying lattes for the board. I also want to say that the Russian.
He deserves a copy.
You guys are working too hard. Mr. Good, someone else? You good? All right. You got it. It's $175.
Going right back to non-partition.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. First of all, I thank everybody for absolutely fantastic work. The feedback people and the presentation. It's probably completely not relevant, but I happen to. We want to call modern industrial. You can see it pretty much all over the world. and doing a fine job, whether it's Budapest or other cities where, people like Howard Rourke and Chip Bolt.
Real quick, not gonna rub, I do have to run. Hopefully not.
Thanks, Greg.
See everybody. Have a good one.
There's obviously a lot of, public interest in this. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I would also suggest that rather than trying to vote today, which I don't think is smart, that we consider if you guys are willing, to have a site visit, in 2 weeks prior to the next meeting, and I'll tell you why. As I said, there's a ton of mail. Respectful as it was, I think there are also some ongoing misperceptions, or maybe not, in terms of people's perception of scale, relative to location, neighborhood, et cetera. And I don't think that's going to get fixed on paper. I think we need to invite ourselves and other folks to be on partition with Chip, looking at the site and really focusing on the dimensional character of the space, and deal that it's not just we don't have the facts, we have the facts. I, for one, can't fully understand scale of paper or off a flat finish. I have to go there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So Chairman, is there something like to mark, I mean, buy a balloon, put up some big frame,
I think that there are enough relevant structures so that someone with Chip's sense of scale and dimension can point out relatively where the different components stand, and also getting a sense of how the building approaches the sidewalk and the street, what the feeling of that footprint is, et cetera, I think will be much more easily captured standing on the street. I know what you all feel. That's my feeling. I can't do this off paper, I'll tell you.
But if you're standing in the street looking up, it's nothing at all like when it's looking from his house, or my house, or her house. And we're elevated on the hill, it comes up, and then his house is gonna come up to there. They're standing on the street looking up, I don't know how you're gonna be able to tell how that impacts everyone over there.
We have enough feedback from the public. People say that they're concerned about the impact. I think we can walk around the block and sort it. It's just more information and another way of collecting information. It doesn't delete or negate anything anybody said. I'm just asking permission from my colleagues and from you all to have another go.
You guys are welcome to come into my bathroom.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to go to the house.
Just a quick point of clarification, that warehouse is upsloping and it's 49 feet, the height for the warehouse,
The warehouse is 49 feet above Allen Street sidewalk.
and that's kind of an incline back up.
From Partition Street, it's about 10 feet, Allen Street's about 10 feet lower than Partition Street.
Oh, interesting. And that other building on the corner?
Is 45 feet high at Front Street sidewalk.
And
then
that,
it slopes up.
and that slopes up as well.
And so a site visit, I think, would be extremely useful.
If you all don't mind, I would love that. Thank you.
So when did that happen? 2 weeks from today?
Proposing, let me ask the board and the owner and what I'm thinking right before the next.
That's how we've done in the past, right? We've met at 9:30, I think, morning.
No, 9:30, it's 9:35, 2 weeks from today.
Yes.
So the public knows we have done this multiple times. We haven't done it in quite a while, actually, but we have done it historically.
Right.
Just so that we can get a sense of it. Scale and appropriateness for the neighborhood is an important factor here. Or we can have a discussion now though, right?
We can do anything we want.
Great, and I got, Chip, can I ask you a few questions?
Yes, of course.
So if you had an approval for the overhang, I know you discussed it in the last meeting, but I'm not certain if that's been approved yet.
The
The bay windows?
The bay window, the oriel bay window that is on Partition Street. The facade of the proposed building is 9 inches back from the property line. The overhang is currently set at approximately 30 inches. So it projects 21 inches over the sidewalk. The TKG building, which you can see in the survey, also projects over the property line into the sidewalk by approximately 20 inches. So the facade, the leading edge of the bay window is at about the same plane as the TKG building.
That's
and
good, but where do you need to get that permission from and you have?
That permission needs to be granted by the city, because it is overhanging city property. So.
By the common council.
From the common council.
And have you approached them about this already?
We have not. We went to the zoning board of appeals first. We've come here second. We want to have your opinion. We have the zoning board of appeals opinion, taking it to the city to be able to say that we've gone through the zoning board of appeals and the historic preservation in order to justify this relief in which this bay window projects slightly over the sidewalk. About
Do
as
they
much.
need to see it either in the city or doesn't matter what the sequence is?
I mean, I don't think it really matters what the sequence is, but I think his strategy is to go to the city and say, look, everyone says it's fine.
Okay, so he wants to only.
And as we have before the zoning board of appeals, for you also, we've said, if the city doesn't grant this, we will come back and make an adjustment. We're not assuming anything. We're just simply trying to go through in what we consider to be an orderly process. And so if the city does not grant the overhang of the bay window, then we'll be back.
I'm saying do.
I do want to clarify that the oriel bay window is something that happens throughout the city of Hudson. It's not just, it was stated earlier that it happens primarily on Warren Street. It does happen a lot on Warren Street, but it also happens on Union, and it also happens on Allen, it also happens on Columbia, and it happens with very, very high style buildings, and it happens with very modest buildings. Any walk up and down Union and Allen Street will see oriel bay windows that have an overhang. And some of these buildings are quite modest. They're not just high style. The other thing that I want to point out is that a single family dwelling on this site is a permitted use. There's no zoning restriction that this is not a permitted use. It's permitted by the zone. So the question of whether it's a business or whether it's a residence is largely not germane here. The question is architecturally, from a preservation point of view and a community appropriateness point of view, is the architecture of this building appropriate?
I think we understand.
It's all we want to apply.
Yeah, understood.
Not interested in going down a rabbit hole.
Right. So can I ask a question? What is the age of the current garage?
As is shown in the 1911 Sanborn map, it's shown as a garage with the number 9 on it. So it might be, I don't know, but it's, I think, clearly an accessory to the dwelling that faces onto Allen Street that has been removed.
Right.
So the garage has at least 3 different building periods, I think, different foundations. It's concrete block, and it's some poured concrete. I think it's typical of early 20th century construction, the building materials that are used, that can be witnessed from the inside. Some of them have been recycled from other buildings. It is a frame building structurally. As has been pointed out, it is a very awkward distance to the one-story brick building. As we will see on site, there is a completely unmanageable space between the existing building and the brick warehouse building. Cannot be accessed.
Right.
Very awkward and difficult.
So can I, has the warehouse that is up the hill, has it been built to the lot line as well?
Yes, the warehouse addition, if you will. This facade is, I believe, 9 inches back from the property line, although this has not been surveyed. We know that this building is 9 inches back from the property line of number 9. And so that's why we sought relief from the zoning board of appeals that the front of our building would align with this brick building. This building, of course, in this building, goes all the way from the property line at number 9, all the way to the residential garage that is upstream of it, partition. So it's fully built side by side.
Thank you. What is the material of the garage door?
The material would be painted black metal.
Did you give us specifications for that or no? If not,
Thank you. I don't know that we have a manufacturer specification for that. I did not include that in this current window package, but we will.
It's a large element. I think it needs to be considered.
Understood.
Are the chimneys clad? Are they brick? Are they metal? What are they going to
The
be?
chimneys are also metal. They are the same siding. They provide the access for flues from 2 fireplaces that are on the lower level.
This is only modestly relevant. Did you consider brick as a second?
We did consider brick as an element, but felt that because of this existing building, the warehouse building, being predominantly brick, it would be impossible to match, wouldn't even be desirable to match. Finding a brick that would be compatible would be difficult. And I don't know would be as successful as
Unless it was a very dark brown brick like you've rendered in the clad. But that's just one opinion. Lee, could you stay here? And I think maybe this is a question for you, Mike. Have you considered, so one element of this building is this almost pane of windows in the rear, right, where you're going to enjoy a view. Have you considered the fact that this is, but there's a blank lot in front of you. Do you consider the fact that by building the structure, you would create a precedent for common structures that look like this, and you might someday be facing into the same exact window?
It could be, because no one owns a view, right?
We know.
Property owners, so, yes, I mean, the Heflin could go up and build a hotel there. I'll be looking at a hotel, but I'll still. Okay. No, but yes, it's their right to build.
That's all I had. Otherwise, I do support a site visit. This is obviously rarely seen this level of public interest, and I thank the public for all their thoughtful commentary. I also thank the applicant for their excellent presentation and thoughtfulness around the design.
But just 2 things to comment on the questions you asked that I know the answer to the, on the, as far as overhanging bay windows, there are 2 on Union Street, right up near Court Street. Otherwise, they're bay windows. They're none that overhang. They're all set back and inside set back. There's quite a few of them on Warren Street and none on Union Street. And as far as what the building used to be, in 1851, it was lived in. It's a residential business, and the man who lived there built blocks for ships. So it's been there on that side lot. It's at least 1851. I don't think it's the same structure, definitely, but that's what was there.
Interesting. Thank you.
Blocks and tackle.
Folks, like wooden blocks for ships.
Like the blocks and tackle.
Yes.
Is there any interest in adjournment?
Are we setting a time to type?
Right.
The site visit, is proposed to be 2 weeks from today at 9:30 a.m.
You got a motion on that?
Yeah.
Sure.
I know, motion, we have a second.
John and Hugh, all in favor, and it's done.
Thank you all.
Okay. Never motion to adjourn.
Wait, sorry.
I'm Miranda, John, all in favor.
We adjourn. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.